Welcome. Today's reading is about the escalating tension in Iran and US again this week. So we're seeing currently that the ceasefire is done. That's the latest. Today's date here in the Southern Hemisphere is Friday the 10th of July. Now, I'm guided to what I read on based on the collective energy that I do for the week, and that I want to probe a bit deeper in certain sections. Now, last week, what was interesting in the collective energy, which relates to what's happened with this ceasefire ending, is that I did not get the bombing card that I always get. The cards are so on it. Normally, they let me know when that is going to fire back up again. They didn't this time. They gave me volatility in the market, and from that, I found out that there is a volatility in the markets whenever this war raises its head again. The tension escalates, affects the market. So I've learned something. I've learned that when I see that card of market volatility, it means that something happens that triggers market volatility, and that is usually something around war. Interesting. So that was a learning experience for me. So when you see that card come out for me, or if you're out of your own deck, you'll know too that market volatility just doesn't happen for no reason. It is often triggered by an event or a catalyst event that causes volatility in the market. So what I'm reading on today is a little bit about that. I want to know if there's intentional market volatility. That's one of the questions I'm going to be asking today. I also want to know, are we going back to that scarcity energy again? Does that mean that we're looking at ships being held up and we're not getting our fuel, we're not getting our fertilizers, and we're going back into that scarcity energy again? So we've had a bit of a break from it to allow things to kind of balance out a little bit or recalibrate, so we get used to that level. And now I wonder, and I'm going to ask the cards, are we going into a further level? We're going a little bit deeper here. Is money the purpose here? Is money the motivator that's driving this? What's really behind it? So we just want to let the cards speak and see what they say, and anything else that they want to bring up, we're just going to run with that. And today I'm going to be using the Governance Oracle and the Predictions Oracle. Welcome back. So this reading is about the escalating tension that's taking place with Iran and the US and Israel. Now, also in the collective energy this week, both the astrology and the cards are showing heightened tension this week. A lot of tenser energy, especially around negotiations, around communication, is quite intense this week. So let's see, based on the questions that we have, what's predictively coming up. This is my Predictions Oracle. This is my Governance Oracle. So what predictively is coming up with this escalating tension between Iran and US, but also, is there any underlying energy around market volatility? Is there any connections to that? Is there any manipulation? Is there any things done on purpose coming back to money? So let's see what the cards have to say. Now, briefed and in command. This is just showing a leader. Okay, this is showing a leader. It doesn't necessarily have to be Trump. It could be the leader. It could be Israel. It could be Iran. There's showing a leader. One of the leaders is compromised or harmful. A controlled puppet. So, a leader, current ruler, one of them is compromised, perhaps a controlled puppet. But it's showing that that control level of control that has been occurring is no longer sustainable. So something has to be done here. So I'm not actually sure which leaders who with these three countries, and I'm not sure which person this is, but they're showing me that this is no longer sustainable. The control that one person has over another person is no longer sustainable that way. Social media is showing information being revealed, corruption being revealed, things that have been hidden will be revealed on social media. And why I say that is because we've got corruption being revealed, something that they've been trying to hide or keep hidden out of the media, withholding information, withholding truth, sitting with social media, so showing that it could possibly coming out on social media. Prepare and stock up was one of my questions. Are we going back into that scarcity where we have to prepare and stock up because of fuel shortages, food prices, issues around farming and fertilizer? And I think it came up in the collective reading this week, something about the farming industry, possibly because of rain. But this one here is saying that prepare and stock up, but we're seeing toxic air as well. Now, whether that's caused from volcanoes, whether that's caused from bombing again, causing bad toxic air within an area, or whether we're actually talking about toxins, wearing a mask. Okay, one thing I'm thinking about that's a little bit interesting is when you're looking at the timing of when these battles go on or when events take place, what's happening in the background when these things are occurring. Because I'm actually just thinking about COVID in 2019. So I'm wondering, and I don't know why I'm going here and I can't see the connections, but there's something going on around things that happen at certain times for a really reason to cover up whatever corruption or whatever they're trying to hide. Something happens in the world. So it's look here, get everybody in that state of panic, get everybody fearful of, toxins or pandemics or war, where they're having to just, fight for their own survival mode each week in their economy and how they stretch their dollar. They're so focused on their own survival that they forget about the corruption that's trying to be hidden here. There's corrupt energy going on. That's why I think I'm seeing the COVID energy. Not that I'm saying there's COVID. I'm saying that when something comes out or gets close to being revealed, because I'm seeing 3 of those cards on the table, something always happens in the collective that forces us all back into survival mode. And that's what I'm seeing with these 2 cards here. All over social media. So something starts spreading all over social media on purpose to push us into that survival mode or that panic mode or that energy around preparing, having to prepare. Because all it's doing is preventing this thing from being released. So we're focusing on something instead of focusing on this. Outside the trusted circle is showing, you see it sitting on that end, whereas the briefed and in command leaders are sitting on this side. So it's showing how people are turning away their trust from different leaders around the world. But look over here, completely different. This is imprisoned or detained. A leader that is not trusted, possibly Iran, imprisoned and detained. It wouldn't be Russia. But this is showing somebody imprisoned or detained because they're not trusted. So whether we're talking about a ruler, somebody briefed and in command, or we're just talking about somebody, the corruption involved in the arrest of somebody because they don't want information coming out. So somebody is therefore imprisoned or detained because they can't be trusted to either reveal information, or they're just not trusted. They cannot be manipulated, controlled, puppet. Really interesting cards on the table. I'm just trying to form their story. Now, the other question that I was kind of asking here was, is the stock market intentionally manipulated? Is it just a whole money thing? And we see corruption being revealed. But these are very interesting. So what they're showing is that it's not sustainable. The level of control that one country has over another, or one leader has over another, or one elite group has over a certain leader, it's just not sustainable. And they're now compromised. So as far as what's coming up with this war, to me it just looks like a distraction from revealing information, keeping things to themselves, but something comes out on social media, or they're fearful of that information getting out on social media. So they're putting us in fear-based mode, survival mode, so we don't look into what's going on. There's something really corrupt going on here in the hidden beyond the surface, and that's what I look for when I do readings. What are they hiding from us? What kind of corruption are we looking at here? Let me just pull a card. What kind of corruption are we looking at here? I feel like I have to get the Starter Shadows out, the tarot out. Okay, so this is showing a leader that has a selfish agenda and that's not budging, unwavering. They're not budging. They're refusing to surrender. They're refusing to liberation or liberate. So far as predictive energy, what's coming up for around this ceasefire coming to an end, we're looking at somebody going into hiding out of fear of being imprisoned or detained. This person can't be trusted or controlled. Perhaps quite corrupt, or the level of their corruption will be revealed on social media. So there's a reason to go and imprison this person. But maybe this person goes into hiding. Or it could be that they're hiding the corruption. Okay, so what we're seeing here with the war, the way it is, the ceasefire, the way it is, it's not sustainable to keep going on. Can't keep going on with this ceasefire. That is just not sustainable. So here it's saying that the people in control, pulling the strings, are saying this is no longer sustainable. It's time to do something because there's fear of information coming out. And there's a risk of somebody being compromised. A well-known person being compromised. So one final pull. Predictively, what do you see coming up for the warring energy? The escalating tension that is taking place right now, we're seeing that somebody may concede defeat here. There's targeted attacks. There's economic challenges. It's no longer sustainable the way it is. The situation needs a complete overhaul by targeted attacks, economic challenges. Somebody may concede defeat. Reversing course. Reversing course means pulling out. Surrender. The reason I say surrender is because this is the hangman card. So looking at it from another perspective, but definitely the hangman in the tarot means surrender. Concede defeat. Because of the attacks and the economic challenges. No longer being sustainable. Beneficial impact. Thank you for watching.